Well, hello and welcome back to the All Saints podcast. I've got to tell you, I could hardly be more excited about today's podcast. I've been waiting for this opportunity for quite a long time because today I'm privileged to have the opportunity to meet face to face for the first time and to interview for this podcast. Not for the first time, but for the first time face to face. Mr. Mouner Alajji. Mouner, it is wonderful to have you with us. You're visiting Fort Worth, visiting All Saints this weekend. We're currently recording this. This is April the 14th. We're delighted to have you with us. Mouner is one of our missionaries, and I'm going to get you to explain in a second, Mouner, what it is you do. But first, just let me say a huge thank you for coming all the way down here from Calgary. Is that right?
Calgary, Alberta,
Yeah,
yes.
flew in yesterday evening. If you're at All Saints, then, well, by the time you hear this, you will already have heard the presentation from Mouner at Forum after our service on Sunday the 16th of April. And I'm looking forward to this conversation just to get to know Mouner a little bit, introduce you to him, and to just dig a little bit into his background and his ministry and what the Lord has been doing in him. So we're delighted to have you with us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for the invitation, for the having me in the church and in this town. I'm very happy to be with you and sharing with you what the Lord is doing, what He did in my life in the past, and what He's doing now.
Great.
Thank
Well,
you.
let's begin with some of that and just a bit of a catch up. We had one conversation previously via Zoom, which I think went out on the podcast probably over a year ago, but some people won't have heard that. So give us a quick summary. Take as long as you like, but because you've got a very, very interesting background. Talk us through your early days, how you became a Christian, how you met your wife. There's some great stories there. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Everything began in Aleppo, Syria, north of Syria, and I grew up in Orthodox family, very nominal Christianity.
Right.
I would say nearly knowing nothing about Jesus and about salvation. And when I was 18, one of my relatives started to talk with me about what is Christianity and about salvation. And it happened that March 15, 1981, I knelt down in my room and I prayed and accepted Jesus as my Savior.
Right.
And the whole story started.
I like that you can remember the date. I was 6 years old then. Just so you know.
Yes, I do remember. It was unique night, and I do remember that next day I woke up and it was like everything changed. Even the weather, even the light of the sun,
Yes.
as if everything changed. Not only myself,
But in your perception of the world. So,
yeah, and I was on fire to serve the Lord since that time. Very soon, I took a kind of call from the Lord to give Him my life and to serve Him all my life. That happened summer 1982, a year and a half after my conversion. And at that time also I met Sarah, my wife. I started to attend that church. Somehow it is a Presbyterian church.
Right.
Her mom is a believer. Her grandfather is a believer. It's a very nice family.
Right.
And we are happy now. We have our kids, the fourth or the fifth generation.
That's wonderful.
Since her grandfather.
Yes.
So we were attending the same church, and because of that, we were friends for a long time before we get married in 1990.
Right.
Through this time, from 82 till 90, we used to have a home meetings, a group of young people, and all on fire, loving the Lord and want to serve, and very strong evangelist people.
And this was all in Aleppo,
In
Syria.
Aleppo, yes. So 1990 we got married, and very soon we had our first boy, Majd, and we start to hear this voice or call to leave and go to seminary, because we need to be prepared for ministry, for a bigger ministry. And we did that. I left my job and we moved from Aleppo to Beirut to study in the Baptist seminary there. And that was one of the biggest stations or steps in our lives. Before that, I met with two people, and they had a very important influence on my spiritual life with their godliness life. But in the seminary, it was a bit different. And what was good in the seminary, that we went together there, Sarah and I, and we studied together.
So you're both learning.
All the changes happened in our life, in our minds, or the new shape we adopted. It happened for both of us, which means we remained on the same page in way of thinking, way of expressing faith and ministry. That was amazing. Yes. I mean, it happened between 91, 94, but we still, both of us, remember it as it happened a few years ago.
Yes. It sounds like there were some experiences there that were more difficult. Am I reading that right? At seminary, or was the whole thing just wonderful? And
no, it was not difficult. It was, I mean, in seminary, you will start to discuss new things, new ideas will change in your mind, and you will start to see ministry in a different way.
Yes.
And because we did that together, we were able to continue together, not only our marriage, but also our friendship and our partnership in ministry.
Right. Good.
That was really important.
Yes. It's interesting, just parenthetically at that point, I remember a friend of mine, when I was, before going to seminary, I was mentored at a church where I was a pastoral intern, and the senior pastor there said, your wife will not be a pastor, but you do need to understand, and she needs to understand, that her life is going to be intertwined with your ministry. And Nicole and I have discovered that over the years, that I've said many times I couldn't do this without her. And certainly it's the case that, every faithful, godly wife is a helper, Genesis, to her husband. And that takes a particular shape, doesn't it, if you're a minister of the gospel or a pastor or a missionary. And it's very interesting to see how the demands it places on the wives of clergy and missionaries and so on.
If you are in a pastoral ministry and your wife cannot understand what is a pastoral ministry and what kind of difficulties, problems you will face there, it will be like a real problem. If you are like, if the Lord inviting you to a mission work and she cannot understand the meaning of traveling, not to be stay in one place for a long time and learning new language or something, it will be difficult for the family.
Yes. Well, we noticed that with one missionary family who we support in Nairobi, Kenya. They were members of the church I pastored in London for a while before they went, and I've described Mrs. Chelashaw, Rachel, as tough as nails. She's a missionary kid herself. Parents were in Madagascar, and now she's in Nairobi with her husband and their children, and she's very important to KIP's ministry for all those reasons. She gets what it is they're trying to do. Interesting.
Yeah, that's right.
Where you were.
Yeah, that's happened, and then the next big step we had in our life, that we went to Beirut for the seminary, but I don't know why. We stayed there till 2002.
Oh wow, a long time.
Yeah, I mean, and suddenly 2001, there was a voice, like a call. Why are you staying here? You came here to be trained and to start a ministry in Aleppo.
And were you pastoring in Beirut at this time?
I was helping, yes. Right. I was helping in a church, but at the same time, it was a unique opportunity.
Right.
So Lebanon is an open country, and all kind of mission work or mission activities you can find there. And it was a great opportunity for me to learn how to record programs, write radio programs, how to help in a church, to work in orphanage for boys, for girls. These were like a new experience, and they were very important for us. Anyway,
and it's interesting. Just again to insert something here, I've seen on your before we began supporting you, I remember being sent some of your broadcast material and some of the videos you'd recorded and so on. And to hear about those things as well as the orphanage work and so on, you've had a very varied ministry. I want to probe you about that, but do carry on.
Yeah. So we find ourselves that we can't just ignore the voice in our head. We should leave Beirut and go back to Aleppo, and we did that winter 2002 with two boys. The second one, he was, I think, 2 years and a half. So we left Beirut to Aleppo, and we start a church planting there in the city. And frankly, it was the beginning of the best times in our lives for Sarah and me. The ministry was great.
Yes.
And we were so happy, and the Lord opened the doors for ministry between Muslims around us, and many Muslims became believers, or at least they start to attend the church to see what is going on in this church. And we had a wonderful ministry between 2002 till 2012. The war started nearly 2011, and things start to go from bad to worse gradually. And in winter 2012, most of the young people in the church left, and they left the country, left the church and left the country. And
that's tough.
2013 was a disaster in Aleppo. To live there.
I remember on the news.
It was. I mean, I will not go with the details now, but I was heartbroken. After 10 years of the work, you, as a pastor, that you will start to put your eye on some young men there and see the future through them. They will be the future of the church. And people, you know people. You know that this guy is good with this guy is good with that, and this guy can take this responsibility, and suddenly you find yourself alone, and all this group of your future, your church future is not there.
So the Lord had some other idea, right?
Yeah, it was heartbroken. And
but it's just interesting. I mean, again, your experience is a particular version of lessons that many people learn, right, at different points in their life in different ways. And not many people are church planting in Aleppo, but many people will have had that experience of things are going wonderfully well, and they're starting to think they can see the future. And the heart of a man plans his steps, but the Lord directs his way. We just find ourselves sometimes being shunted sideways off what we thought was the beaten track that we were going to walk along. And sometimes it's very unnerving and very distressing. It's interesting.
Yes, I mean, at that time, it was a very sad time.
Yeah.
But now, when I go to different places and see, like, these people who left, these young men who left the church, left the country,
Yeah.
and now in ministry in different places in the world.
Right.
Wow. I mean,
So
it's amazing.
You were running your little kind of church planter
Yeah.
training. It's church. In
Yeah,
Aleppo.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, and instead of having 10 people in one place, you have 10 people in 10 places.
You know, it reminds me of like Acts chapter 8, where the church grew by being scattered. I mean, those people who had to flee Jerusalem, leave their homes, leave their friends, they can't have thought, oh, this is great. They must have thought, what a disaster. And actually, those who went about preaching the word wherever they went. And it wasn't the apostles, because the apostles are stuck in Jerusalem still. They stayed, but it was these ordinary men and women who the Lord, through suffering and scattering, put them in places where they could do. I wonder whether we should be looking for this in miniature form in our lives. We have children, for example, and it's not suffering, but it is painful to watch them grow up and leave home. And sometimes they move away or they go to college in another state or something. But actually, what a joy to view it in the way you did, to say, well, they're taking the Christian convictions and the shaping of their lives that they've had, and they're spreading that. They might not be church planters, but they're Christians, I think that's wonderful.
That's right. Yeah, that exactly.
Same thing.
The same, yeah. So two important things happened during our stay in Aleppo.
Yeah.
In addition to the church plant and the growing of the ministry, I was involved with a theological ministry called Program for Theological Education by Extension.
Oh yes, yeah.
So Syria has no seminaries.
Right.
Yeah, Syria and Iraq. And now my dream is to take our new ministry to these two countries.
Right.
And this program, by extension, it was simple and easy to bring courses and to teach people in the churches. So I was involved with them, and that one of the, I think, very important things happened to me during my stay in Aleppo, because it was a good opportunity to teach people and to encourage people to study and know more about theology, about church ministry. At the same time, it was good for me, because that always pushed me to study more and to prepare more. Somehow in pastoral ministry, maybe you will find yourself repeating yourself in a way or other, or if you are, but because of the theological work, I was always ready to read and to teach and refresh my knowledge, and that was important, very important.
It's fascinating again, Mouner, that resonates with the experience I've been privileged to have, where I've started theological training programs in the church in London, certainly, and in fact that's how I got to know some of the people in the church here initially. And it's tremendously stimulating, isn't it? Because you've got people asking questions and you're being stretched in new ways, and it inculcates habits of study that keep you fresh. And I like that. I like teaching the kids in the school here for the same reason, because they ask difficult questions. You were saying,
and my idea was, theology is not only for those who want to be in ministry. It's about an education. If you can educate the congregation or part of the congregation in a systematic way, they will be stronger in faith, and you don't know what will happen in the future. So if they studied, let's say if you have a group in your church, let's say 20 people in your church, and they studied 2 or 3 courses, that will affect positively their ministry. At the same time, they will be able to express their faith in a better way. And maybe in the future, after 5 years, 7 years, I don't know what, maybe they will find inside them a new call to do something more, because they start to have this like small light about knowing what is theological education. And so I did that for at least 9 years in my church with this program. I was the one of the like main people in this program. In the main office was in Jordan, and I was the director for Syria, but at the same time I was the secretary for the committee of the whole program in the Arab world.
Right.
And the second thing happened to me, that I did my master's degree in a very important, unique, dry subject.
Go on, tell us.
Yeah. So I mean, I have a BA in history.
Yes.
In addition to theology. And because of that, I love history. And I love to study history like all the time. So I had a question in my mind: did the Islamic historian, did the historian quote from the Bible?
Right.
So what happened? People normally study the Sharia books,
Yes.
the theology Islamic books about some Christianity subjects, but nearly nobody searched the Islamic history books.
The history books, yes.
So I did that. I tried to answer the question if they quote, like why,
right,
and how.
And what's the answer to that question?
Sorry?
What is the answer to that question? Do they?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So I went through dozens of books trying to search for a word here, for a sentence here.
Trying to intertextual study, basically.
Yeah, and I came with a very book thesis. It's not a master size thesis. It's much bigger.
It's like a big fat thing.
yeah. It was around 250 pages.
Wow, that's big.
Yes, it's big, and it's dry because it's not like normal.
Yes.
You are just searching for a word.
Yes. But it's interesting because what it does is to undergird some quite significant practical points, doesn't it? That Islam is actually a distortion of Christian teaching, a very, very deep-rooted distortion, which is why the Quran mentions Abraham and Moses and even Jesus. And sometimes people say, well, that's because they're really the same. It's like, no, they're really quite different, but it's a distorted and it's borrowing from biblical literature.
Yeah, and it was amazing. Like I wish to have another chance to expand that study.
Right.
Because, like, in my opinion, some of these historians, they had, I think so, that's my opinion, my own opinion. Some of them, they had a copy of the Bible.
Right.
Or they had a Christian, a clergy guy sitting with them.
Yes.
And giving them the information. Because some of them, like Al-Yaqubi, he has like a text from the Bible as if he is what we say, like he is
like writing it.
Yes, writing it from
a
book in front of him.
Yes, and these are portions of the Quran itself. Is that right? Or are they other Islamic writings?
What?
The things that, for example, Al-Yaqubi wrote, that's not part of the Quran, is that
No,
right?
it's a history.
It's a history book, yeah.
It's he is a historian, a very famous and accepted Muslim historian from the, I think, 9th century or something like that.
But he's quoting huge tracts of scripture.
he was writing the history. So at that time, they used to write the history in different way than these days.
Yes, yes.
So in one, let's say one chapter, he will, in his history story, he will arrive to like Jesus or the beginning of the Christianity, and he start to mention or talk about Jesus, but it's completely the exact text we have in the Arabic Bible now.
Wow.
Which means, I think some of them, they used to have a copy or someone.
Or something like that.
Yeah,
An
someone
Arabic Bible.
was dictating them.
Well, your mention of the Arabic Bible brings us, inclines me to come right up to date, because Arabic this is not just a hobby for you, right? You speak and read fluent Arabic.
Yes.
Which is quite handy to have a well-trained Christian minister, pastor, missionary, church planter, theological educator who's fluent in Arabic. Because there are large parts of the Arabic-speaking world that need to be reached with the gospel. And so your work now, we're probably skipping over a few things, but your work now is focused in that part of the world, correct? Do you want to tell us about that?
Yes. My work now and my dream, my prayer is these new churches established or home meetings or small groups started because of the huge wave of refugees,
Right.
especially in Turkey and some EU countries.
Yes, yes.
And many of them started these groups without any training, biblical training or theological training. And the idea always is, if this guy wants to go to a seminary, let's say in Germany, he needs a long time to master the language, to attend the seminary, to be trained. The idea was, why not to take this knowledge and this in Arabic to their places where they are.
So it sounds like almost a replay many times over of the experience that the congregants had at the church in Aleppo. They've all gone out and they've had some training, but not much. And that's happened many times all across the EU, all across Turkey. And now what you're wanting to do is to go into those places to train those congregations. That's great.
That's important. It will be very important for them. I know many of God's people going there for evangelism, which is good, and we need that.
Yes.
But we need also to train these new leaders
in the churches.
Yeah, because they are in a way or other a part of the future of these ministries in that part of the world.
And we're talking about lots and lots of people, right? Give us a sense of how many Arabic-speaking refugees there are, the kind of Syrian diaspora scattered around those countries. What kind of
frankly, I don't have the number, but I have something else to mention, that I will say in every city in Germany, in every city, even a small city, you have at least one group or two or three.
Yes. And that's familiar to anybody who knows European politics, because Germany has been quite open to refugees, which has caused some political tensions, obviously. But they've got tens of thousands of Syrian, maybe hundreds of thousands.
No, in Germany you have more than 1 million.
Really? Oh, yeah, that figures, because I remember thinking hundreds of thousands at least.
Yeah. So to find in every city one group or two or three, it means like a big change. It's not. It's not. You will like travel to many cities. Maybe you will find one group. No, it's not like this. So
you find many people.
Yeah. So I when I go there, I used to drive from city to city between Germany and the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to find at least one group.
And so give us a sense. I mean, just practically, you're driving into a new city. You get there. What do? Do you look online and find Syrian churches, or do you just go find a Syrian community center?
I came from that area. I came from Syria, so I know the people. And people will start to tell you about others. So I'm I'm new to Germany, but
you're
I'm
not
not
new to that
new for
community.
Syrians and Arabs.
Right. Okay. So your long list of personal contacts.
Yes,
That's good.
yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So I have like many. They were in my church, or they were
Friends
in
of friends.
Aleppo or in Syria, and they know me and expecting me to visit them and go there. It's a bless. I mean, I don't need to spend time to search for someone.
Right. You can find them.
Yeah.
That's, you know, one of the other things that strikes me about this, Mouner, is that the alternative, the normal seminary model that we might think of, where a man goes away for 3 or 4 or 5 years to a different city in a different state, perhaps if he's in the US, gives up his job and does that full time for 4 years. That actually is becoming outdated even in places like the US. Mm-hmm. Bricks and mortar seminaries are struggling for financial reasons, and we're actually in the process within the CREC of, it's actually not, it's an independent 501c3 set up to serve the CREC that's building a new seminary which is going to be delocalized in this kind of way so that people in different places can all access it. Yeah. Because we're realizing, almost coming from the other end of the practical spectrum, that we need to find ways of training people in their churches so they can serve more effectively for the next generation. That is exciting.
Yeah, like frankly, I do love the traditional way.
Well, we all do. I mean, I've had the privilege of that as well. But
but the need on the ground now,
right.
like pushing us to go to take the seminary in your suitcase and go there.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting.
It's not the opposite. Now, I mean, let's talk about Turkey. So we have now, let's say, around between 7 to 10 churches, Syrians, in Turkey.
Right.
Okay. Right. In Turkey, we don't have a seminary. We have one seminary for master degree in Turkish.
Which isn't much good if you speak Iranian.
So the Syrians Arabic. Cannot speak Turkish, or, I mean, if they can speak, they can, like, it's not writing and reading for this high standard of language.
Yes, yes.
And of course, all of them from Muslim background, which means some of them cannot easily expose themselves as Christians.
Right.
On formal level, or maybe with the families or other things. So to take this guy to a seminary.
Yes, totally implausible. Yes. Yeah. And then the financial aspect, if he's got a job, what's he going to do? Quit and move? It's just not possible. Yeah.
So the very practical and logic way is to take the seminary there and help people to know more, to do their ministry in active way.
Yes.
At the same time, like a good and solid teaching.
Yeah, you don't want to compromise content.
Yes.
Yeah. It's absolutely fascinating. And I'm torn in lots of different directions because I want to talk about 15 different things. But what I wonder if we should do, bearing in mind that we have talked a little bit in a previous conversation about one or two aspects of your present work, and you've had some health issues which the Lord has wonderfully delivered you from. Health-wise, are you doing okay now?
Yes.
Yeah. Which is just miraculous, because I remember sending photos out to the congregation at All Saints, and you're in hospital scrubs about to be operated on, and you're looking in great shape, and it's wonderful to see that.
Yeah, the Lord was great.
Yeah,
I mean, and we are like very grateful to the Lord.
You're able to travel,
yes,
etc. It's all
yeah.
fun.
Last January I was in Turkey, and before that, October I was in Turkey and Netherlands.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
But what I'd really love to talk about, which would be new, I think, is your dreams for the future, because you've had the last couple of years since we spoke, almost a couple of years, to develop the practicalities of your ministry and to be building different relationships and to be carrying the mission forward in different ways. What is your next step, and what are your big goals, Lord willing, for the future?
Next step is to start the formal teaching, which means the master degree courses and BA courses, and I think September will bring like real action toward this one.
Right.
And the big goal to establish this work with people who can understand the culture there, the culture here, and serve their brothers and sisters. I mean, those who left the country or remain, they still in Syria and Iraq,
Right.
and serve them there. And I wish that those Syrians who left the country and came to North America,
Right.
to go and do that.
Right.
It was a bless from the Lord that He gave us the chance to leave the war and come here.
Because you came to Canada.
Correct? Yes, to Canada. But we need to say to the Lord, thank you. And this thank you should be a practical thank you.
Yes.
So those newcomers, refugees, immigrants, whatever they like to call themselves, they know Arabic, they know English, they know the culture there, they know the culture here. They have a very nice, good passport.
Yeah.
They can travel easily. And they have, I mean, if they trained, then they have the ability to train others.
Yes.
So my dream is to bring missionaries from that area who came here to go back to that area.
Yes. To be able to serve and
yes.
Yeah.
That's I think any believer who came to North America want to really glorify his Lord, he should use these important things in his hands to go and work.
If they all do that, you'll have quite a lot of people to work with. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of those callings, isn't it, where you're torn in two directions, I guess, because on the one hand you see the needs, they're so great, and then I constantly am reminded of James's words, not many of you should presume to be teachers. There's something about a distinctively ministerial calling, which is, it's not something we want to make everybody feel that they absolutely have to do, but it's fascinating. You've got these people who have this unique experience and the blessings of living in a safe country with the opportunity to serve in some way in that kind of context. That's great. Immediate challenges. Let's conclude with this. Tell us, because we want to pray for you, and we pray for you in different contexts, worship and elsewhere, and we'll be praying for you on Sunday. But tell us, what are the really difficult things, the really hard things about your calling?
One of them, my health issues. So I'm good now, as you can see me, but I'm still taking a medication, and if I left Alberta for a long time, I can't take the medication from Alberta health provider, which means, I mean, it's very, very expensive medication.
Right.
At the same time, I need to wait for 2 years after the stem cells transplant to decide that my body, my immunity is good now and can face like real life. Right.
So though you look healthy, you've still got a degree of immunocompromise.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. The other difficulty is, like, frankly, is financial difficulties.
Right.
When you are new in an area, then your network connection will be very limited.
Yes.
I don't have enough friends, like churches who knows me, people who knows me, and that affects our income and
Sure.
in a very difficult way.
Right. Well, listen, let me say a word or two about that, because it may be that there are one or two people listening to this who are from other churches other than All Saints. We do get some audience from out there, and I'm planning to share this with our friends in the CREC across the denomination, and perhaps it might be helpful for them to know that you could always use more funding. And I'll tell you what I personally, when I first came across the work you were doing, it was nearly 2 years ago, I think. And I remember thinking, this guy's the real deal. And there's a number of reasons. You'd come out of a very difficult situation politically and in terms of social stability, and gone somewhere very safe by comparison in Canada, and you wanted to go back. Well, that was surprising to me, and I thought, okay, this guy is serious. And then I looked at some of the materials you've done, and I thought, yeah, he's already tremendously experienced. So, and you've got a track record of, I'm not trying to butter you up, it's just, I'll tell you what I thought this is, we have a limited amount of resources that we can direct to mission work, and we want to make sure we're directing it to work where the people in the field are experienced and working hard and putting the limited dollars to good use. And I just thought, Mouner looks like he's great. You came with very high recommendations from our very own Joost Nixon, who's a friend of many in the CREC, and we love Joost, and many of us know him personally. So if you're listening to this, you're at a church other than All Saints, and you're going to go and talk to your pastor about your missionary giving, or you're on the missions committee at your church, or whatever it is, you could get in touch with, well, if you don't know who to get in touch with, just send an email to me at All Saints, sj@allsaintskirk.com, or just go to the church website, All Saints Kirk, and just find out how to get in touch with me. And I would very happily direct you to Mouner. And
Thank you.
I think from the reports we've received and from probably what you've heard today, you will have been able to reach the same conclusion that we have, which is that these resources are being well spent. And it sounds exciting. I like the vision, the thought of wanting to make a significant impact, and to think that you could be. What's wonderful about theological training is it's teaching a man to fish rather than just giving him a plate of fish and chips. You're equipping churches to become self-sustaining and growing and stable theologically, and not rocked by all kinds of crazy nonsense. I love the work you're doing, and we thank God for the privilege of participating with you in some small way.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Thank you for.
Pleasure.
I mean, this week or this 4 or 5 days, I'm very happy to be in this church and this city.
Well, it's long overdue, and I was delighted when you emailed and said you could come and visit, and we've been trying to find a date. I've been looking forward to this conversation ever since. Right now, it's Friday afternoon, and so we're looking forward to Sunday, when we'll try and record that as well. But at the very least, we'll have some materials from you that we can share with people who weren't able to make it, and anyone who is at All Saints. Well, if you weren't able to come to that forum, you really missed out, because I'm confident it's going to be a great time. We should go and eat, because it's halfway through the afternoon now.
Yes.
We've been working you hard, driving you around to do things and see things and stuff. So that's all from us, I think. As I said, if you want any more information about Mouner's ministry, especially with a view to supporting him, please get in touch with us here at All Saints Church. But for now, Mouner, thank you very much for joining us. We'll be praying for you. God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you.